Hello, hello. We'll get started soon. We'll give everybody a couple minutes to hop on, find it in the events section, or it should pop up on the feed here shortly. Not seeing, I wonder if I can refresh that. On my end, it doesn't show any comments, but if I go to a different one, it shows comments. Something went wrong. Of course it did. There we go. All right, I see comments now. Hi, Don. I'll give it another minute or so, and then I'll get started. Oh, thank you. They are cute and they're so easy. Okay. It's so weird on my end. I can't see any comments. I see one comment. But I have another tab open so I can like go back and see other comments. I don't know. All right, let me see. All right, I'm going to give another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll be about 5 minutes in, and we'll get started. For those who are going to be watching or are watching, I have two cameras set up. This one is for my work at the sewing machine, and then I have the one that you can see in the background that is my pressing table, which is in a little separate location in my sewing room. I'll be doing most of the work over there. There's a quick bit of sewing just to put everything together, but majority of the work will be over there, and let's go get started. If there's any comments or questions, I have Dawn in here. She can help answer some, but I'll check the chat when I come over here to do the sewing part in a little bit. So without further ado, I'm going to actually take my image off and leave just the area over there. We'll come on over. All right. So kind of give a little closer look. We're making these coasters. I have two. This one does not have the sparkle paste. This was kind of my first try and attempt to see if it worked, and it did. And then, of course, I wanted to add the sparkle. Look at that. It is so shiny and shimmery. And you could do it to all the sections. I just did it into two areas. And what's nice about this is once you heat set it, it's washable. So since these are coasters, you know, coasters can tend to get, they can get messy. So you can wash these, which is really nice. So let's get started. We're going to be using mainly two products tonight. One is HeatnBond Sparkle Paste. It comes in, I believe, 14 different colors, and it is wonderful. If you've ever had one of those t-shirts that has like the sparkles It's a little, it feels a little rough, but it's like that sparkle it's that sparkle. I don't even, I love it. I have a shirt like that. And that they have 14 different colors for you to choose from. So we're going to be using our orange, which is pumpkin tonight. And then in order to make this so that you can wash it, you have to heat set it. So we are going to be using some pressing paper because we don't want to ruin our iron. So before we do any cutting or anything like that, we do have to prepare our fabric with the sparkle paste. So for tonight's purposes, I'm only preparing one because I already prepared what we need for the sewing ahead of time. So just for purposes tonight, I'm just going to show you with one piece how to apply it and what we need to do. But I already have two ready to go that will heat set together. So when making the coaster, we're only seeing half of this 5-inch square, which all the supplies are linked to their blog post, and you can find that all there. So we want to find the center point of this because we don't need to add sparkle paste to the underside. That would just be a waste, and we don't want to waste materials. So we're going to press just to create a little crease so we know where our center point is. It doesn't have to be too defined. All right, and then you'll want some kind of surface you can work on. I am just using an old cutting board. I use this for all sorts of things. If you've been on these shows, you see me use it for some other types of applications of glitter. And you can see the glitter paste here. This will just wash off. I just haven't washed it yet. So until it's heat set, it washes right off. So we are going to be adding our sparkle paste to one side. And for this type of application, we're going to use a foam brush. In other shows, I've used a paintbrush to get more details, but we are covering essentially one whole half side of this. We want to get the best coverage possible, and a foam brush will do the trick. And for tonight's thing, since we're only going to be seeing half of it, if you notice, we only really see the half where the crease is. So I didn't do it on this one, and this is where, my mistakes are your gain. You can see how it's kind of missing a little bit of that glitter right there. So we're going to make sure we go just over the crease a little bit to make sure that that area is really well covered with the sparkle paste. So we're going to grab it out of here and just start to apply it. I gotta. And like I said, I'm not worrying too much about down here. This is going to be in the seam. I really want to focus on what is closest to that center point that we created, to make sure that that has full coverage. Lift it up and turn it. I see kind of two areas I missed. All right, and you typically want to wash this off right away. Now, while I do not have a sink in here, so I have prepared a little cup of water to put mine in just for the show so that I can wash it off later. And now this you would need to let dry, typically about an hour or more. You can see that coverage, look at that. Oh, so shiny. So we're just gonna put this aside and pretend like it dried. because I'm going to bring out the ones that I prepared. So for this, I prepared two. I prepared the color you just saw, pumpkin, and I also prepared a gold one. And the gold one is called gold. Pretty simple. So to prep them, to heat set them, you need the pressing paper, and you're going to press it on high setting for about 60 seconds. So I'm going to get that ready, and we're going to press these. And then while I'm pressing these, I'll just do a little talking. So for this, you will need a template, and the template is on the blog. It is an octagon. You may have seen these coasters before done with circles, and you may have seen them done with hexagon, and I thought I'd take it, you know, 2 sides more, and I made an octagon, and I wanted to see if it would work. I wasn't sure if that many angles would work, but it does, and it's very subtle, but it's there, and I think it's really neat. To me, these look like little pumpkins or almost like oranges. But any color they would change. You could make red ones. They probably look like apples. Purple or green for grapes or lime. You could probably even applique on these before you make it. You could applique other shapes. Okay. Let's do this one. What I love about this is it's a one sew once and done. And you'll see how we do that here shortly. So while that's pressing, I can just let that there and show you some of these other colors. We've got, this one's called royal blue. There's sugar, it's like a pink. There's a teal, there's like a light green. This one's really neat. It's called Snowflake, and it's almost like an iridescent. All you see is the glitter. There's no like color, and it kind of reflects all the light. There's black and purple and fire engine red. All right. I'm going to let these cool down while I get the next step ready, because we're going to actually need to use that pressing paper again to press these. So I showed you the pattern. For this, you're going to need a total of 9 5-inch squares. It's pre-cut friendly, so if you've got some leftover 5-inch squares from a project that you don't know what to do with, this is great for that. I'm using all batiks, so they look really nice. This one I already pre-cut. I had an extra one. I didn't want to waste it, so don't worry about that one. So you got to have one for your background, and that's what the brown is going to be. The brown is going to be on my backside, so that is my background. And then you need 8 more. Since this is an octagon, we got to have 8 pieces. So I've got 6 that aren't going to have the sparkle paste, excuse me. And then I got my 2 with the sparkle paste. So what we need to do is we need to press these and then press them in half. Not yet though. I'm getting ahead of myself. We need to cut them first. So let me get this shape. We're going to cut them. Now what's important is you might want to take your stencil and give it a nice fold so that you know where does that need to be when I'm lining up my sparkle ones, because that's where that fold is going to be. So I like ease, so I'm going to actually just layer them all together and cut them all out at the same time. You can choose to cut them out separately. There is a positive to cut them all out. It goes quicker, but then the negative is I'll show you, but there's an easy way around it. So I'm actually going to turn these upside down to cut, but I'm still going to be able to see you guys might not be able to see it, but I can see my creased line right there. So when I line this up to trace it, I have that halfway point lined up right there and right here with, and I'm just using a pen. I would normally use like a pencil or a heat erase, but I want you guys to see this on the camera. And it won't show anyway, so. All right, there is our octagon, our little stop sign. All right, I need a pen to get started. And I also like to use clips. Now, what I was saying, the negative side to cutting them all at the same time is your fabric can shift when you're cutting. So I suggest clipping a few sides and just unclipping and clipping again. So we'll start with that. And I got some really sharp scissors, so I'm going to start cutting. On that line. Shift my pins over so that I can keep clipping, but it's keeping it all together. And normally there would be another one in here, but like I said, I already had that one cut and I don't want to waste it, so we're just going to use it. All right, so now the part I was getting to, that I was getting ahead of myself, is we need to press these in half. That pressing is going to give us that nice, crisp, clean edge, allowing us to only do one time of sewing. So this is where you'll need your pressing paper again. You can see it's more than halfway, so we're going to get plenty of shine on that edge. I'm just going to put my pressing paper down. My iron automatically shuts off after a few minutes. I'm pressing this one a little bit longer. I got 2 layers here and I want it to get through. There we go. There's one. And then the brown we don't have to do. So we're going to just set that off to the side. The brown is going to be our back. And 2. So from this point, we are just simply going to press our little octagons in half. This one's got some really pretty color. I think I want some of the yellow to show more than the orange and pink, because I got a lot of oranges. Now if you're using fabric that has like a right side and a wrong side, of course your wrong sides get folded together. Batiks don't have that. You can use either side of them. Some sides are a little more vibrant based off of how it was made. And you just kind of have to look for that. Try to see if I have one that's like that. I don't really see one right now. All right, now it's the setup. So you want to take your background piece and we're going to start layering this in a circular form. So I'm going to try to make it almost identical to this one. So I'm going to start with that light yellow. And what you do is you're just going to match up edges. So it's going to lay like that. And then I'm going to go with that polka dot orange. And you're going to just do, I don't know the exact fraction, I guess 1/8 of a turn. And you're going to just turn it 1/8. And then you're going to do that again, 1/8 of a turn. Keeping it lined up. You might go off the edges a little bit, and that's from when you cut it. It might just slightly be off, but I'm going to show you how we get around that with the sewing so we don't mess things up. Now, because this is going to be the inside, what is facing you right now is the inside. What is facing down towards this brown piece is the outside. We need our sparkle to go face down. Otherwise, this is what you would see. And then we've got orange. We're doing a 1/8 of a turn. We're halfway done now. And then we've got the flower. Now I want this side to be facing out. So I'm going to put that face down. And then we've got that yellow, another 1/8 of a turn. And then the orange, again, all the silver, the sparkle down. But you can't leave it like this because it won't work that way. You won't see this. So you have to pick up these three, and they are going to get tucked under that first one. So I'm going to do that again. So you're going to pick up 1, 2, 3, the last three, and you're going to pick up your very first one. You're going to tuck it underneath all that. So you can kind of see your design here. And then you're going to have to, move it around to make sure you got everything in place and everything's overlapped and there's not too much overage. It takes a little bit of just kind of work in it. And then I suggest using clips for this. So this one looks like it's hanging over a little bit. So I'm going to move it up just slightly. See, that looks pretty good. And if you're really worried, what we can do is, if you're like, is it right? Is it right? I'm not sure. So I just clipped one side. I'm going to flip it. And if you take this off, you can see what it's going to look like. So we're going to flip it back over. Just in case. It's always good to double check before you do all the sewing work. And then you're like, oh, now I got to take it out. Seam rip it. Nobody wants to do that. Just clipping it. I'm going to clip it in 4 places. That will hold it in. And now this is where you can also make a choice. You can have it without a little leaf or with a leaf. I think I'm going to make an identical one to this. So I'm going to use a leaf, and that is just felt. And there's really no pattern for it. I just cut out a leaf shape. And this is felt. It's from Benzie Designs. It's from one of their kind of pre-packaged colors, which is really nice. They kind of do that for you. I'm just going to fold it in half. Good old, make a symmetrical leaf by symmetry on each side. Fold it in half. I'm using pinking shears. Gives it a nice little touch. I'm going to just simply cut myself a leaf. Voila. All right, that is between these two, but that's not going to be where they are. So I'm just going to place it between two. We're going to open it up, and you're going to go between your background layer and all of your foreground pieces, and you're going to face it inward. If you face it outward, it will be inside. We're going to face it inward, right on one of those edges. We're going to do it on that one. We're going to do it right there. And I'm going to let a little bit in the inside just so I know where it's at. And now, for the sewing. I said sometimes when you cut it all out at the same time, or even if you cut it out separately, it might have just slightly different cuts. So when we sew it, we're not going to sew it looking at this side. We are actually going to sew it looking at this side. Because if you turn it over, you can see, oh, wow, it's a little off. But if you sew on the background and it's off and it's kind of coming off the sides, you're guaranteed to catch all those layers. If you sewed it on this side, you may not catch your background, realizing that, oh look, there's a little bit of overage. So I'm going to sew it from this direction, just kind of flattening it out, all those layers. And when we sew it, we're going to do a 1/4 inch seam, and you're going to just go around the entire thing. And of course, back stitching in the beginning and the end. So that is what I'm going to go do now. And I'll check the chat and we'll see how it goes. I'm back. So I'm going to show the sewing machine, but let me get on here. So yeah, it's still not showing the chat, so I'm going to have to check that later. So I'm going to get sewing. Let me kind of move this. Nice thing is it doesn't take long to sew at all. You could sew up. I'm looking for my mouse. I forgot my mouse, so I'm using my little finger pad thing. There we go. I'm trying to switch between screens. All right. Okay. So and on my end, it's still not showing any of the comments. So that's why I didn't really respond if there was anything. I don't know why it does that. So I will take, ooh, I got really close there. Be careful, don't cut into your seam. Okay. And then the magic. So let's get my iron ready. We will need the pressing paper again. So now, all we have to do is turn it right side out. And to do that, you just simply kind of go to that center, find the inside, and carefully turn it right side out. There's our leaf. And you can actually do this. I think I said in the beginning, you know, some people, you may have seen this. You can do it with hexagon. You can do it with circles. You can do it with squares. We just want it to go big and go with 8 sides. So I'm just kind of going around and pressing on each of these little points, and then we'll close up this center and give it a good press. All right. And there it is. She's so pretty. Let me get my pressing paper. You want to use that again because of that sparkle paste. We don't want... Oh, got a point there. Okay, there it is. And I somehow managed... They're like opposite directions. It's like opposite directions, but yeah. There they are. You can see that shine. It's so much better than the first one I did. Look at that one's got like a little bit that I didn't quite go all the way, you know, I didn't double over the edge. So now I have two either pumpkin or orange coasters and a third one. These work great. You can use them as like a candle. Put a candle in the center of them. Many uses. So I'm going to go over and see if I can look at the chat because that's all I have for tonight. Nice and simple. Create a nice little gift. Use them at your table this holiday season. Could be a nice little take-home gift for your guests. And like I said, multiple uses. Great. Oh yeah, done. Yeah, make it any size. Oh yeah, make like a big one like for a centerpiece. Ooh, that'd be pretty. And I just created that octagon shape in just, I created it, I use a design thing and it's got shapes, but you could probably find shapes like on anything on your computer and just enlarge it. And then you could just make it multiple pages to print. Oh yeah, print. Oh my goodness. You're making me want to make so many more, and I probably will. Like, you saw how quick that was. It's so quick. I want to know all the comments, but I'm afraid I'll get like... Oh, you'll hear the video, and then you'll hear me. Let's try it. Turned off the... I like to talk to myself, so... Come on. There we go. I'm like, I've been trying to get to see these things. There we go. Okay. I'm starting to see the chat now. And we got our winners. Okay, good. Congratulations, Vicky and Diva. Thanks for getting on tonight. Oh yeah, definitely a scrap buster. Like I said, scraps, or if you've got a bunch of 5-inch squares left over from other projects, or even like your 10-inch squares that you can cut down and have 4. 8 of those would be perfect to make a matching set. Or I guess 9 of them. 9, you gotta have that back one. So yeah, all right, yeah. In 2 weeks, Lisa Rubel. We will see you then. I'm gonna leave it open just for a couple more minutes, and then then I'll be signing off. This video will be uploaded to our YouTube page in case you need to look for it again. It might be easier to find it there versus trying to search for it on the feed here on Facebook. Thank you all again. All right, and once again, everybody, thank you so much. I'm gonna